Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm very, very glad to be here, and thank you. I want to thank you, our partner, Empire State Capital Partners, for this invitation. Be honest, I want to tell 2 words about Israeli Ukrainian Alliance, our initiative, but I would like to do it in Russian, and then if you need some translation, I know there is earphones you can take, okay? И хочу начать, на самом деле, с истории. Вчера утром, когда мы...
I would like to start with history. When we were flying with our partner, Eitan Katz, who will also one of the speakers of today, our flight was delayed before the staircase of the plane. There was some breakdown, and we had to wait for 10 minutes. Security guy has asked us, do you fly to Ukraine often? Are there things to do in the country except for looking at the views? And the response was, please imagine, yes. There are also innovation park, cool business, technology innovation. And we flew there for the conference named New Ukraine. And this is what Israel Ukrainian Alliance was doing. In Israel, we were involved in promotion of Ukraine. Nowadays, Israeli business comes to Ukraine. Some of them open R&D centers. There is quite a lot of business involved in the outsourcing and who look for developers here. Actually, in Israel, people know very little about Ukraine. They began to speak in Ukraine in 2014 due to the events which happened in Israel. There is an information vacuum. Maybe there is some information about anti-terrorist operation, but they never write articles about business. And this is what now changes. The journalists come from the leading business magazines, publications, they interview Israeli business. And our objective of the alliance, one of our directions is to attract Israeli business to Ukraine. Also in Israel, to tell more about those opportunities that people now have. On the first panel, on the opening, people were saying that Ukraine today is a brand, is a startup. And Israel is positioning itself as a startup nation. And recently in one of the dialogues here in Ukraine, we spoke that Ukraine is not a startup nation, but it's a data nation, because nowadays in Ukraine there are quite many opportunities, and there is also a strong school. I would like to demonstrate a video. In the month of March, we held in Israel with our counterparts. We held Innovation Expo. We invited Ukrainian Israeli business, and this became a beginning of development of our initiative. We believe in networking. This is what we are doing. And generally, it's not a secret that what moves it is human capital. We have quite a lot of friends, as we are involved in that all the time. We have contacts in Israel as well as in Ukraine. Therefore, our objective is to make sure that the contacts start to create ideas, initiate projects, and doing all that in cooperation. I would like to show how it happened in Israel just 2 months ago. like to say that Ukraine is very interesting for Israel. We're open to cooperation and partnership, and we shall be happy to communicate with you.
To open this panel of venture capital technology on blockchain, I will propose to change a little bit the usual format of a panel. It means I will introduce all the speakers quickly, and I will ask you to immediately interact with us about what we will exchange as you are a part of the panel itself, if it's convenient for everyone. To start about this panel, I would like to introduce Deborah Fairlamb. So Deborah has more than 20 years of professional experience building on marketing a range of businesses, products, and programs. She worked in and run international private banking programs with Merrill Lynch, UBS, and the Bank of Georgia for 15 years. Before she transitioned to her corporate experience to more entrepreneurial investment on business development projects. She has worked as an independent advisor, business consultant, and entrepreneur in Ukraine, Georgia, and the US for the past 10 years. Currently, she is the senior advisor for the Ukrainian Government Commissioner for Investment, coordinating the launch of the Ukrainian National Startup Fund. Prior to this role, she served as a deputy director for Ukraine Invest, the Ukraine Investment Promotion Office, working to share the story of opportunities in Ukraine with potential investors from around the world. Welcome, Deborah. Next speaker, Olga Afanasyeva, if it's correct. Executive Director of UVCA, so Association of Venture Capital in Ukraine. Olga holds a PhD in finance from the Ukrainian Banking Academy of the National Bank of Ukraine. She has been studying at the University of Applied Science of the Dutch Bundesbank, Academy of Capital Market Leaders at Laszlo Pege Foundation in Poland. Olga has 8 years of experience lecturing at Ukrainian Banking Academy of the National Bank of Ukraine, University of Greenwich in London, UK, as well as at the Jean Monnet program Erasmus+. She has experience in corporate governance and international cooperation. She also worked at the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Olga is the member of the EU Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum Working Group, Economic Integration and Convergence with EU Policies. She is an author of more than 50 scientific papers, research papers, and 3 books in finance, investments, and banking. Olga was a co-organizer of Ukrainian Davos Night, January 2017, member of the Organization Committee of Ukraine House Davos, January 2018, and initiator of the first ever Ukrainian Startup Pavilion at Consumer Electronics Show, CES in Las Vegas, 2017 and 2018. Next, Adam Dorfman, founder of If, When, Then. Adam is an international speaker on the future of jobs and blockchain platform business models. Adam has 10 years working in the capital markets software on blockchain. He's the founder of an early stage platform called If, When, Then, which will be the first EOS blockchain. So I suppose you will explain us what is this concept and how it concerns the VC particularly. He is based in Ukraine, by the way. Eitan Katz, CEO and founder of the Neo VC. So Eitan is co-founder of the Israeli Venture Capital, the Neo VC, entrepreneur, innovator. In the spring of 2017, he began a program of support for Ukrainian startups. Eitan Katz started also a career in the Israeli army as a developer, continuing with Mercury Interactive before it became the flagship of the high-tech industry in Israel. So it's connected to the video we have seen. After the first experience in startup, he created an innovative incubator for HP, and for several years moved to the United States. During this time, more than 150 startups were created under his guidance on the basis of the technique development by him in Israel, China, Germany, Britain, India, and so on. The last, the surprise panelist, Maxim Prasolov from Neuromation. I propose that you introduce yourself, as I don't have your bio, and then we can start.
Thank you very much. My name is Maxim Prasolov. I'm founder of Neuromation company, and we combine two new digital frontiers in one, artificial intelligence and blockchain. I have experience in traditional capital markets. I was involved in IPO of Ferrexpo, the first company on London Stock Exchange main market from Ukraine. And now I'm a founder and CEO of one of the biggest public token sale on post-Soviet countries. Neuromation now has offices in 5 countries, and today I want to speak from blockchain side about breach of value between traditional capital markets and crypto assets.
And also artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. So I'm glad that we can welcome all our panelists, quite experienced, smart, to open discussion about the venture capital take on blockchain. I propose 2 directions that we can go. Is it venture capital versus blockchain, or venture capital with blockchain? So, Eitan, the ICO world, the dark one, maybe. Who want to start?
Okay, so I agree that this question, is it with or against, this is a very interesting question. I just saw yesterday some pictures from a big blockchain conference in New York. And I don't know if you saw some clips. There were some demonstrations, and there was an organization called Bankers Against Bitcoin. Bitcoin, just as an example for the bigger topic of the crypto asset as a topic and the revolution that it makes to our banking and finance, but not only, it actually has and will have impact on every area of our lives. And investment, startup investment and innovation nurturing is one of those topics. As someone who tried and is trying to nurture innovation ecosystems, I can see some things that I like in what's going on, but many things that I don't like, and I think that over time we will have to see this whole system of blockchain, tokens, coins, fiat, and investment models learn to live together. If we look at the traditional investment, so we know that a startup that wants to raise money, there is a certain path that this startup would go. A startup would raise pre-seed and then seed and then do the rounds A, B, C until it will get acquired or will shut down or will do an IPO. And we know this path for the past few decades. There are challenges to this model, but we know that it managed to yield some very big successes over time. Now, with the changes that we see, and we saw some early indicators for these changes with the evolution of crowdfunding. And now we see another way to crowdfund, which some would call ICO or token sale or token generation event. So the underlying concept is, seems to be very positive, because now we see people that did not have access to this ecosystem of investment. So now they do have access. They can buy some shares, they can buy tokens, whatever you want to call it. They buy some securities, and in a way, this ecosystem is getting democratized. It's not only a matter of a few accredited investors, whatever that definition means in every country, but there is an opportunity for people that did not have this opportunity before. They can now participate in this emerging wealth of the startup ecosystem. However, when I look at things from the startup perspective, the startup point of view, so we all hear about those startups that raised 10, 20, 30, or 100 or 200 million dollars in this kind of an event. The challenge that I see as someone who's helping startups on a daily basis, and this is what I did for the past few years, both in ecosystems as well as corporates. My experience, and by the way, this is also backed by empirical studies, there is a reverse correlation between raising a lot of money, the amount of money that is being raised, and startup success. So we see a reverse correlation with startups that in the first few stages raised a lot of money. This does not guarantee success. In fact, it's the other way around. So the biggest problem that I see with a startup that raises on day one $50 million from a token is the fact that when getting all this wealth early on, before there is product market fit, before there are customers, before there is real business, those startups will tend to waste the money early on. This model, even from the startup point of view, is somewhat flawed. And I know some of those ICOs that raised a lot of money, and they simply are looking for ways to spend the money today because they don't have the business yet there. So this is a challenge that as someone who's trying to nurture these ecosystems, I see as a big challenge. I think there will be some ways to address this challenge in the coming future. And I heard about various attempts to put some milestones and even smart contracts that will enable investment milestones. So it's definitely something that can be addressed. But the main point here is that the investment world is changing. Blockchain and tokens provide a new way. We should embrace it. We should recognize it and embrace the good things in it. And of course, fix what's not working. So it will be yet another, it will not eliminate the traditional investment methods, but it's something that we should embrace and just make it work better.
I want to ask Olga the position in the association, how you see what's going on with the blockchain. Is it an opposition, or you are already working to use blockchain in your industry?
Thank you for your question. I would like to remind that I'm managing and representing Ukrainian Venture Capital and Private Equity Association. why I'm mentioning this is that we unite venture capital and private equity funds, so basically institutions that invest the private capital, like in general. And for us, well, we have been thinking, of course, what is our position and how do we see ICO in this private capital market. And the bottom line is, well, our position is, well, people who are backing companies through ICO are also private investors. So we do not see any contradiction between venture capital and well, ICO as an instrument to raise money. And for this, there are several arguments, several trends that support this idea. First of all, that we know many cases, successful cases, when the startup that raised capital through ICO were previously backed by venture capital, which gives them the push and the like instrument, I mean capital, to develop their business, to go from the idea to the prototype or to something more bigger. So there is no contradiction at this stage as well. And secondly, the argument is that in many cases, venture capital funds in United States of America, for example, well, in particular in Silicon Valley or in Europe, they also buy cryptocurrencies, and by this mean they are backing the companies, the startups through ICO. So to my mind, and well, basically to our mind, from the point of view of association, I do not believe at this stage that ICO will totally disrupt venture capital. It can be the additional instrument for raising capital for companies, for developing their business and to making the prototypes or to grow further. Well.
So you see the use of blockchain as more an additional way to raise private equity than a competition, yes. Hard competition, which one will disappear against the other. Good.
Yeah, and also I need that there should be more, like regulation to organize this activity that is happening with ICO, with using cryptocurrencies, because we see the lack of it. We all know about the fraudulent cases, and this should be organized to a certain extent.
I think the market is already organizing itself. 6 months of a big jump on the hype of it. Now it's going a little bit easier in the market after all the problems that was raised. I want to ask Maxim and Adam, at the experience startup, why you have chosen one way about another to raise capital for you, and what motivates your decision to choose one tool over another, or even if you have used both, tried both, and what are your success in that?
Definitely yes. You can use both form of raising capital, and now in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, I particularly live in there. There is no concern from big venture capital funds to invest in a company who are already making successful ICO. As you probably know, Anderson Horowitz not so far backed big crypto funds on more than $100 million. And it's absolutely normal. We in progress, and we talked with big VC funds, because we have more projects than we, on our platform, we have more projects than we can invest in. And the problem with understanding what is a crypto world for venture capital funds, it's only in a regulation field, and from one point of view, ICO process, it's just similar of IPO process. I have experience in both, in initial public offering and initial coin offering, and we were successful only because we use framework from the traditional IPO, because we aimed not to the crypto investors, We aim to the family offices. We aim to traditional capital markets syndicates. We aim to the venture funds. So, and this strategy was successful. And from my point of view, it's only just time of regulations, how to bring this new form to the legal field and making very affordable to the people. Talking about venture capital perspective in crypto world, I suppose it's a new tool, new instrument for investments, because from my point of view, in 3-5 years, a lot of traditional business will be tokenized, because it's very affordable form to attract money. It's not only about security token, it's not about equity-backed token, it's about utility token. For example, miles in airlines, it's a form of token, it's a form of utility token, and it should be tokenized. And I know about some project of a big European airlines they're thinking about. And also the big consumer supply chain, and fintech and banking. It's all this type of business will be tokenized for sure. That's why I think that's for venture capital funds, it's a very interesting form to make research and to create special program for small startups and maybe help them to make an initial coin offering in jurisdiction where it's legal, like Switzerland, for example, or Singapore, or Estonia.
Okay, so for myself, my startup is a platform business model. And my marketplace is Central Eastern Europe and the Balkans, my first marketplace. So a lot of people ask me, why would you even come to this region as your first marketplace? Who is gonna fund this? And the thing about ICOs, the first thing, there are a lot of advantages to blockchain, but the technology is not available for a lot of those advantages. The first advantage, however, is it's a global funding mechanism. So of these $9 billion, $10 billion that's been raised in the last year and a half or 2 years, 70% of it has come to developing regions of the world. So regions that could otherwise not get capital. And so if I have this business idea, which I identified this part of the region of the world as the first region, the one that's gonna have the most active users, I would have to be in Silicon Valley to get that capital. I would have to be really close proximity to that cluster of investors. And now with ICOs, the first advantage of blockchain is that I could access this capital. The second reason why I'm doing ICOs is because the technology has reached a certain point where a platform, a blockchain platform business model is actually going to be possible. Previously, if you wanted to create sort of like a Facebook social network, you couldn't do it. It would be too expensive to record all the transactions on your platform. So now the technology is kind of ready. The venture capital is possible in developing regions of the world. And so for my type of business, it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Adam. Deborah, the point of view of almost the state regulation or not, how you see this merging or use of both possibility from the state point of view?
Thank you. So I'd like to actually say, I'm not speaking on behalf of the state. I'm going to actually just express my own opinion. I think that First of all, the democratization of movement of money is an extremely important thing. And I don't think that we can or should look at it as an either or. It's in partnership, and it's how do they work together. I think that a lot of what is going on with blockchain and the initial coin offerings, it's still very new. A lot of the markets are still very frothy. I don't think that there is actually necessarily a lot of stability all the time. You know, depending on what the startup is, sometimes you need stable sources of money, and that's not necessarily all there at the moment. Are we probably moving towards it getting a little bit more stabilized? I do think definitely. I think there are also a lot of opportunities for using the idea behind all of this within blockchain for making tremendous changes in terms of how money moves and how it's accessed. You know, I know that I do know that there is a challenge in terms of startups finding funding here, but I'd actually like to emphasize there's problems for startups finding money everywhere in the world. And even in the United States, you know, there's this maxim in the Valley that if a venture capitalist has to drive more than 20 minutes to get to your office, they're not interested in investing in you. So there really are drawbacks in terms of being remote from where some of the very big sources of money are. But this is the kind of technology, this is the kind of thing that is going on that actually is going to push boundaries, it's going to challenge assumptions, and it is going to, you know, really open up new ideas and new markets, and hopefully let money flow a little bit more easily.
Thank you, Deborah. I want to share with you two news, and I would like your comment. Again, don't hesitate to comment, to share your opinion in the audience. We will be very pleased to interact all together. The first news, it's an ordinance that will come in force 1st of July 2018. It comes from France. So the cabinet, equivalent of the cabinet here, has decided that they authorize the use of blockchain in terms of exchange in non-listed securities. And I think it's quite a big news itself, because it's the first time a state at the level of France in a huge economy is working at the government level to authorize the use of blockchain for exchange. So that's the first news I want to share with you. And in terms of pure blockchain technology, there is a very big startup from New York named R3, and they have processed the first letter of credit. So typically a pure bank tool for international, mainly for international export-import, with Cargill from Argentina to Malaysia, with HSBC, ENG, and many other. There is 40 big institutions in this startup, who has funded this startup for $107 million last year, May last year. And they finally did the first full process in blockchain and a letter of credit, and it works. What do you think about that? It's not a revolution itself? Or just another tool?
This was the supply chain?
In the supply chain, but also it's a supply chain concerning a tool handled by the bank itself, so the financial institution that we were thinking they were fighting like crazy against the blockchain. Finally, they use it.
Yeah, like I don't know the exact details, but I have looked at a lot of sort of what the potentials are with blockchain in the financial sector and supply chain and others. And the idea of the disintermediation, so you remove sort of the middle person, and you're connecting supply to demand in a new way that was not possible before. So a lot of people are calling for like the demand chain, for example. So when it comes to supply, because you can trust the data, you know where it comes from, and it's quick to find you. can make a demand as a customer to say, hey, I only want to purchase products from a certain region of the world. And so that becomes a feature, a business feature. I only want to purchase local produced or organic or that's ethically produced. And so the demand chain as far as financial products, as far as supply chain, is going to be the result of this disintermediation and these platform business models that have removed the gatekeepers that were there before.
Actually, I can also, yeah, just adding to that, the organizations that manage the money, the flow of money, so it's banks, it's the investment houses, it's all of these different things, they are notoriously resistant to change. You know, way back when there was a point where online trading started, and Charles Schwab had been the first United States company that did online trading. Every bank in New York said, online trading, who's ever going to do something like that? And then all of a sudden they realized that, oh my God, half the world is starting to trade online through Charles Schwab, we got to catch up. And what will happen is that they will start picking up the use of the technology when they see that it benefits, when their pain of not doing it is greater than the fear of, you know, getting into it. So there is always this lag time, but I actually don't doubt that it will end up changing how money does move and the access to it, but it's a question of, you know, when does it get picked up. That's actually, in the context of what, you know, the bank in France, it is great, but that's actually, letter of credit business is such a tiny sliver, small of what their business is. And it's a way for them to do it, to bring it in, to test the water, but it's, you know, there's miles to go that they still could be bringing this in.
Yeah, well, there's a great book, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, The Innovator's Dilemma. And it's the idea that the traditional companies usually have the technology, but they try and sell innovation to a traditional buyer, or they are really incentivized to grow the status quo. So the culture of a large mainstream company is to grow the status quo. So generally what happens is they're not the ones that are going to do the innovation, even though they may adopt it. And so you've kind of seen like Walmart, they had an online store before, but Amazon just kind of went through them because they were able to do something quite different that platform business models usually do, is that they unlock a new supply. So a lot of people think that Amazon was really successful, or the digital book publishing industry was really successful because they were the first to be online. It's not because of that, it's because they allowed for self-publishing, and that engaged a whole different type of marketplace. And then for the marketplace, the Amazon marketplace, they allowed for private labeling. And so that engaged a whole different type of entrepreneur to create his own store. And all of a sudden they were much bigger than Walmart. So when it comes to blockchain, it's going to be the companies that really not necessarily do a private blockchain, but do a public blockchain and take advantage of the transparency to use it as a feature to attract the customers, that are going to eventually kind of push the envelope and force the traditional companies to change their model.
That's a good point. Concerning France authorizing from 1st of July the use of blockchain as official type of possible exchange in the non-listed securities, what are you thinking about it? It's something that will spread all over the world, or it will be just a little attempt? Is it something that will change the way to exchange titles, or an anecdote?
So to continue the previous point, one of the reasons I'm so bullish and excited about this technology is really the potential of it to change, I wouldn't say everything, but really so many areas in our lives that we cannot even think about today. This technology has, to me, you mentioned the combination of AI and blockchain. So in my mind, there are two technologies that really can have impact on every area in our lives, and one is the AI and the other is blockchain. And the reason I consider blockchain as such a fundamental potential change to our lives is because it has several very unique and very disruptive aspects. We mentioned decentralization and the opportunity to eliminate the intermediaries. So decentralization is really a really profound concept that will have impact on every aspect of our life. The other thing is the blockchain as a technology that provides an immutable ledger. Again, that has the potential to create a single source of truth for information that we have no other example like that in any other technology. Another very important aspect is the smart contract notion. Again, this is something that has profound potential to change things as we know them. The fact that we can define a set of rules and they will be enforced by technology without the need of a person to handle them, this is something that will change the way we work, change the way we get work done. We have the notion of the DAO, the decentralized autonomous organization, where if you think about it, our children, some of them will be hired and managed by computers, because the organization will be autonomous and smart contracts will be the managers of this organization. So these are really fundamental concepts, and we have no way to really understand today what will be the impact of these concepts. And the analogy is the internet. Back in 1995, if you would have asked someone, and many people understood the potential of the internet in 95, 94, 93, but if you would have asked them what will be changed in 10, 20 years from now, nobody could have even imagined something like Facebook or Google. So this is the exact same position. We cannot even imagine what will happen in 10 years due to this technology and, of course, with the combination of AI.
Combined to the AI, yes. I want the point of Maxim about the use of AI in this technology, in this aspect.
Yes, we can imagine what will be in a few years, because to create our project, we take into consideration the growing non-human economy. Because new digital frontier like blockchain and using artificial intelligence and IoT things create a potentially huge market of non-human economical interaction between different machines. And probably in 20 years we will see on the Forbes cover a non-human subject, maybe. But we understand that potential of this economy it's pretty high, because in 5 years we will have about 20 billion non-human economical subjects on the planet. And all these subjects will trade of knowledge and data and computing power between each other. That's the point. And it's strictly impossible to do it the traditional way. With smart contract, of course, it's possible. With cryptocurrency, it's possible. So it's open a new horizon, new economical horizon. And it's very interesting question, what's next? Of course, in 1997, nobody can understand what a website is. It's very hard to explain why you need website in traditional retail, for example, but look at Amazon now. We understand that. So we don't know what will be, but we can predict a little bit and make some actions combining a new technology. it's alchemy. We don't know definitely, but we expect it.
Coming back to the venture capital, what can be the use of artificial intelligence in the venture capital to help to analyze and to select what startup can have a bright future or not? Or the modelization through artificial intelligence can change or not the way to work through venture capital or in the venture capital fundraising. Saying differently, do you see any use in the venture capital of the artificial intelligence? And if yes, how?
In venture capital, artificial intelligence.
Can you use artificial intelligence to enhance
Venture capital investment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, well, regarding this question and the previous discussion about our future and how technology will disrupt, well, our professions, I would say that it will be, we will experience great changes even during our lifetime. I believe in it, but still there will be certain things that cannot be so-called delegated to the machines, like compassion, like some, like human qualities. I don't believe that during nearest, well, several dozens of years, they can be so-called delegated. And in venture capital business, our investors usually say that primarily they invest in people. So it's always about people. Well, idea matters, execution of course matters, everything, but all these things depend on the team, on the people who are behind this idea, all these developments, all these products. So you cannot delegate being a good team, being a human to any artificial intelligence or any other technology. So we should not worry much because we will still have jobs, we will still experience the need of humans. But the other thing I would like to add is, well, based on the book Plutocrats, which has been written by Chrystia Freeland, who is originally Ukrainian, but now she's a minister and like the right hand of the Prime Minister of Canada. She, as a reporter, she was investigating on the, like the richest people, their behavior, the evolution of the richest people. She called it 0.01% of the humans who hold the capital of the world, and she explains, and I'm very, very, very agree with that. That in basically nearest future there will be two types of say the levels of wealth. One is smallest, but who holds the biggest amount of the capital. This is 0.01 of the richest people of the world, and it will of course increase. And people also who have the super capabilities, who are super smart, who can do something that cannot be, done by the average intelligent person. And also the number of people who belong to this category of modern slavery, those who are working for $1 per day. And yes, they can be disrupted by the machines. But for nearest dozens of years, it would be cheaper to use the workforce of this poorest, of these citizens of the poorest countries. And this is like the sad part, and I don't believe that the nearest dozens of years the machines will disrupt them as well, because there is the huge percentage of the population of the earth in this.
Good point to come back on the ground, I will say, on the real life, after having some perspective about the use of blockchain and artificial intelligence. That's a good point. Saying that, and linked to the typology of this particular event, new Ukraine investment conference, how you see and how you can guide potential investors, showing that Ukraine is the place in the worldwide competition to invest in this technology, in this environment of startup. You see something emerging for that in terms of competition, because there is a lot in the competition.
Well, to make, just maybe add a point, but to make Ukraine like a great place for startups. Great again, yeah. Like for me, because I am doing a startup here, and one of the things that I find, there's a ton of talent, there's a ton of energy, but the one thing that could be developed more is platform thinking. And because when you think in a traditional way, you think in a linear pipe, you're manufacturing, you're process orientated. But a platform is about integrating networks, collaborating, cooperating, establishing partnerships, right? And you're more thinking about enabling interactions than you are building technology, right? So
do you mean that the relation, the human relation, is more important than anything else?
I think it is, and so it's to a large extent, the Ukraine's got a huge opportunity ahead of itself, but the biggest thing is to start thinking about enabling the best interactions in the marketplace, and that will sort of create this momentum where innovation, discussions, capital, people start to really develop the place. So I think that's one of the mindset adjustment that needs to be made as far as that I see it from my angle.
I share that. It is why I'm living here for 5 years now. Human capital.
Hello. Thank you so much.
We hear you, Caleb.
It's a tremendous honor to hear you all's thoughts. Thank you so much. I want to circle back to a couple remarks that have really struck me thematically. And in the end, I would like each panelist to answer the question, what is the blockchain? And the desire to build upon one another's answers or to complement the sharing of information. I'm not sure what degree of knowledge or exposure people have had with blockchain here. And so that's a part of my question. I see blockchain kind of like the ocean and then there's the sand and we don't know what it is. And then people have gotten involved, entrepreneurs, who have taken this sand and are throwing it into a box, or they're throwing it into a pile, and we are turning it into a sandbox for everyone to play in. The blockchain is this sand, yet it cannot be monetized. My question to the gentleman in the end, you made a remark last night talking about the applications built upon the blockchain, and that's a form of monetization. I would love to hear your remarks there. And then in general, I'm sorry, but I love Ukraine, but to hear someone that represents venture capital mention the word regulation to the blockchain in Ukraine, I think is one of the most terrifying ideas I've ever heard come from Ukraine. I think transparency and the absence of regulation of blockchain in Ukraine is necessary. So I would like you to defend that position and how regulating the blockchain benefits Ukraine. But simplifying, I'm sorry, I don't have I'm not a speaker, but what is the blockchain? If you could touch upon applications on top of the blockchain, a simple answer from you perhaps, and how the role of it being a new protocol, a protocol being like HTTP, and go from there. I know I kind of hijacked it, but...
So two questions, Caleb, if I understand. What is blockchain in short? So who want to risk an answer? First, and second, it's the use of blockchain in venture capital to bring transparency that you judge it's missing in Ukraine, right? Okay.
Okay, so like really short, and one of the reasons why you haven't seen that many applications is because the technology is sort of not there. If you looked at the internet back in 1996, Gmail wasn't really possible, video compression wasn't possible. A lot of the things that we take for granted right now weren't possible. So people back then would kind of be saying the same thing. So, but when you think about blockchain, you think about a centralized database and you think about a decentralized database. One is controlled by the centralized entity. The other one is a shared data layer, right? But right now, we can't do that many shared data layers because it's too expensive to record the transactions. So you need a blockchain that enables free microtransactions. And only then will you see sort of this unlocking of data that comes from these blockchains. And so for me, there are two things that blockchain enables, and that is access and control over personal data, and the other one is learning from that ecosystem data to make more market efficient decisions.
So I will refer to the your reference to TCP/IP as a metaphor, maybe. So blockchain is maybe is a term that is sometimes is even being abused to refer to too many things. It's certainly overloaded with meaning, and for a good reason, because it really means different things for different purposes. The notion of a database, it's a distributed ledger technology, DLT, which is something that was available a long time ago, but the blockchain introduced some new innovations. And as Adam mentioned, some of those innovations. But what Bitcoin did as the first use case, the first application for blockchain, by the way, in Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, the term blockchain is not mentioned even once. But the innovation here is really the ability to utilize the DLT in order to create new applications. So it's a ledger that is immutable, it's secured, it cannot be hacked, at least with the existing technologies. And it provides something that is really important, that is the incentive for people to be part of the community and contribute to the benefit of the community. In Bitcoin, this community is the people who actually secure the network, and these people get incentivized, and we call them miners. But the notion of being incentivized for contributing to a network of people which form a community, this is a very important notion that we see in many other applications. They're not being utilized yet, but this is the promise that we see in so many communities. And just to raise some examples, Steemit, which is a community for content creation and curation, it's one of the best examples for an application that really works. Steemit has 40 to 50 million unique users every month. So you cannot ignore it and say there's no utility, there's no application for the blockchain technology. And we'll see many more that will come in the coming years.
Another question from the audience? Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Mohammed Bakri. According to the title of the sessions, it's about Ukraine Investment Conference, Venture Capital, Technology, and Blockchain. We have a similar...
We don't hear you correctly. Okay. Can you be
this is better?
Louder?
It's okay now? Okay. We have a similar experience according to the Egyptian market with dealing in technology. And I had a part or a share in this experience through regulation for the information technology with the Egyptian government. And venture capital and technology and the blockchain, in my opinion, must answer about the legal environment that can handle and manage these activities. Because according to our Egyptian experience, we had a lot of information technology ideas, prototypes, trials, new companies and we didn't have the suitable legal frame to manage it and to handle it. And once upon a time, the Egyptian companies wake up and they found that there is a new law that organize and manage all their activities, and they make a crime in illegal use for the software, for example. So I think as an investor, if I would like to come to Ukraine and to invest in information technology or software house, I think that the first thing I will be interested to know, what if you have a fair, international, updating legal infrastructure for doing such this business with a big money. I'm talking about codes, regulations, business forms, business deals, communication with the international companies, and what if I come to buy some small or medium-sized Ukrainian companies with new technology, and it was not fully legal protected with the intellectual property code. So maybe I need to, you update me about this comment. Thank you.
That's a question. If I can summarize what you say, you are looking for a technology company who can provide a secured environment in terms of a technology that can be applied worldwide, right?
I am talking about if I am an investor here, I need to secure my investment through fair legal environment. What is your legal environment that can organize and handle and manage the investment in technology and venture capital?
Who risked the answer? Eitan?
Yeah, so I will not refer to a specific country, but we see around the world several emerging legal frameworks to handle blockchain technologies and blockchain companies. I would classify those to three classes of attitudes from governments. One is looking at the blockchain technology and blockchain companies and token-based companies as a new breed, as something that requires special legislative solutions because they look at it as a new type of an asset. The best example for that is Switzerland. And in Switzerland and Zug and other places, they have specific, the parliaments came up with specific regulations for token-based companies. The other approach, which is more similar to the American approach, is trying to push these companies into the existing framework. Existing legal framework. So their approach is, if you want to work in our jurisdiction, you must comply with the existing law, existing regulations. Now there are some exceptions in the US. They have this, the Jobs Act from 2016, and they have some special regulations for crowdfunding, Reg A and Reg S. But still, this is the existing regulation, and they want these companies to comply with the existing regulations. And there is another class of approach, another class of attitudes from governments, which is a combination of the two. So basically what they say is that you have to comply with the existing regulations, but they do some adjustments to allow companies to live within the existing legal framework.
Excuse me, this is makes us come to the right time of investing in such these activities. If it will be right now, or it's better to wait and watch the next step?
So I can only tell you my own opinion. I think that the legislators should act now, because if they just sit on the fence and wait, that blocks innovation. And what happens, since we all live in a global world, the entrepreneurs will just go elsewhere. So if you want to keep them in your country, you should enable innovation, make it legal. Otherwise, they will either do things that are illegal or will just go elsewhere.
If you don't mind, I highly recommend that the government can adopt a small and unique business model to encourage the investors to come and to take the risk. And maybe they can make special zones to protect their business.
Is it the role of the state, and is it something that's preferable to have ultra regulation? Why the ICO is so successful? It's because it's deregulated. It answers your question, I think. You can't have the freedom of paying the lower taxes possible, but also having a huge regulation protecting you. There is a reward of the risk, if I can answer.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Barahmi. I want to ask something in general about the blockchain. Now we are dealing with things without any rules, without any cover, without any real insurance. What if one day we wake up and found it's just a bubble? So I think that it's affects the future of blockchain and most of the virtual currencies now. I wish if someone give us the any kind of insurance about this future. Thank you.
So just to clarify, are you referring to government's attitude towards blockchain, or?
No, talk in general, okay, as now this subject is already in the market, okay? And
specifically in Ukraine or in general? Because we will talk about Ukraine. If you see how many events in Ukraine, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Kiev, Lviv, Odessa, almost each week you have one to several events concerning crypto, blockchain, technology. I think the environment in Ukraine is quite positive. You have a lot of engineers, very talented people. Again, coming back about the statement of Olga, and I think we all agree with that. The human capital in Ukraine is tremendous, and it's maybe his best asset. It is why I really encourage investors to come in to build this relation, this particular relation. It's not painting in pink the Ukrainian society. There is other stuff to take care of, but as everywhere in the world, it will be plus that, minus that. But here, the human capital is incredible.
Mm-hmm. But I'm talking globally. Now, till now, this field is moving so fast without any kind of insurance for its future. What if I put money and invest in this and wake up found it's just something, just a bubble? This is my question, not about Ukraine. We talk about this in general as investment, to feel insured. Thank you.
Someone want to add something about? No? Yes? Okay, we are almost at the end of this panel. So I would like each panelist to give maybe 1 to 3 points, either to help understanding potential investor why Ukraine, what are the best in Ukraine to go through, what are the best advantages to come in Ukraine comparing to the international environment, why Ukraine is a place to be.
Oh, I start. Why Ukraine? So, for my company, we open our offices only in the countries where the level of abstract mathematics is still high. Like in Tel Aviv, we have office in Kiev, we have office in Tallinn, and in San Francisco, and in St. Petersburg. And we aimed to attract best brains. Maybe in that case, why Ukrainian software engineering so expensive and so good, and why blockchain here is developed. And so my advice to investors, like invest into the people, into the brain, into competence, and level of abstract mathematics in Ukraine at very, very high. Invest in that, because blockchain, it's all about mathematics and artificial intelligence as well. So from my point of view, talking about new technology like blockchain, we have to talk not about only blockchain, because it's just one form of a distributed ledger. We have other technologies based on gossip algorithms like hash graph, for example, and other one. And it's more wider than just a blockchain. It's all about definition. And so I suppose now we in between of different eras, and in close maybe 3-5 years, the most traditional assets convert into the crypto form for sure, because it's very, very simple and very affordable to manage it, and definitely we don't need a lot of middlemen in the process. So it's also reducing the cost of asset management. That's why I believe in blockchain, in investments and in financial sector. And I hope that Ukrainian legislation will be suitable for establishing blockchain companies here so far. So I hope, as originally from Ukraine. Thank you.
So I think I will repeat some of the points, but to make it simple, in my mind, Ukraine has a very rare combination of very important decision factors for any investor. One is talent. There's plenty of good talent here. The country is big, and there are many big countries, but here we have a good concentration of talent. This is one. The second thing is competitive prices compared to other places like Tel Aviv, like Western Europe or the United States. And the third, maybe I'm acting against my interest, but there's not much competition here. So if you're an investor, you want to find the good deals. If there's a lot of competition, you reduce your chances. So it's a good place to be in terms of timing. And these three things make it a very attractive place.
Yeah, for myself, it's not as an advanced company as the others, but when I looked at it, it was definitely the timing issue, the fact that there was low competition for what I wanted to do, and I have this belief that on a side, it's not a huge impact on what I'm doing, but if it does, I think if Ukraine really gets behind blockchain, gets behind cryptocurrencies, and puts some real legislation that's positive to support that industry growth, I mean, Ukraine could be a dominant country in the region. But that's if, you know.
So answering the question why Ukraine is the best country, I cannot say, I will not say that Ukraine is the best country and the best destination for, you know, investing and for building business, but it is one of the most competitive in the tech sector, and the best asset that we have is human resources, is people, as we discussed, and usually numbers speak for themselves, and I would like to articulate some numbers. Tomorrow we will publish, for the first time, we will publish the annual report about venture capital and private equity investments during last year, so you will hear these numbers firstly. And the first number is venture capital. So last year, the venture capital investments into Ukrainian companies out of Ukraine, has grown 3 times more, comparing with the previous period, 2016, which is super good, I think. The second fact is, for the first time, we included into the report the numbers for private equity investments into Ukrainian companies. Why for the first time? Because this is the highest number in the history of Ukraine ever. It's 130 million. Of course, if we compare it with the United States of America or with UK or something else, it's not comparable, but for our country, this is the highest number, and this is the trend that we are growing and the investments are coming. And also, we included for the first time the number of capital that was raised through ICO. Well, obviously, it's $160 million that were raised by Ukrainian companies through ICO last year. And the last fact is that we unite in UVCA 50 members. These are venture capital and private equity funds that invest in Ukraine. Most of them are from Ukraine. Certain, like 1/3 are from United States of America, from other neighboring countries, from Europe, and they are active investors. So if they invest, you're always welcome to come and join them. The real motivation for joining is to see what other people are doing, and that they continue investing, that they continue to come in Ukraine and building businesses with our people, with our partners, and invest in our company. So this is the best, I think, argument. So join us.
So I would agree with pretty much everything that everybody had said before me, but I would frame it maybe a little bit differently. I look at investing in Ukraine in the context of time. And the time that Ukraine has ahead of it for development versus what has come before, really Ukraine is just on the cusp of things starting here. I came here for the first time in 1999 to visit. The first time I moved here was in 2007, and then I came back again full-time in 2015. And each time, yes, I saw changes, but what I have been seeing in the last 3 years in terms of Ukrainians recognizing their own potential, their own creativity, that they have control of their own destiny in terms of where this is going, is exponential based on what it had been previously. There is a big generational difference. I think that when you go to a lot of the conferences that are technology-based and really more techie-based and on all of these levels, it tends to be a younger generation. They don't talk about corruption. They don't talk about what the government is not doing. They don't care. Corruption does not affect the IT infrastructure or anything. Really, it's very free of that. And it is only limited by people's imaginations. The rest of the world has shown that. And this generation that is involved in this in Ukraine is not limited either. And they are out there seeing the opportunities. They're seeing the gaps where there aren't things. And it's really, that is what is exciting. That is what is dynamic. I'll use the word from earlier this morning. That is where the energy in Ukraine is in the context of where it's going forward.
Thank you very much. I want to conclude with one sentence that I use quite often to illustrate the environment of investment on acting startup or even in company. It's a quote from Henry Ford. Vision without action, it's just hallucination. What it means? It means that you, investor, come here, act, and you will have a good reward about your investment. Thank you very much for all the speakers. I was very, very pleased to moderate with you. Thank you, the audience, to be here and ask or made some statement. It was really great to have you here.